Shalom. This is part 3. The nations think Israel is finished, but in the end, the fear of the Israelites will return. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the one true power that always makes it possible. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakak, Wadash. And double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. A mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same spirit that is scattered four corners of the earth. Lord willing as a whole that you continue in sound doctrine. Shalom to the Akwaf, the sisters of this faith and this truth. Lord willing that you continue to pursue your lot, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. Lord willing, Yahweh Shema Shai has mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. Let's get into it. So again, the nations think the Israelites are finished, but in the end, the fear of the Israelites will return. If you watched part 1 and part 2, Lord willing is edifying, and that part 3 actually solidifies. So, let's go to the book of Psalms, the 83rd chapter. And we're just going to read verse 4. It says, "They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance," right? In existence, right? So when you look at First Maccabees 3 and 48, they sought to make the images of themselves. Job 9 and 24, the earth is given to the hands of the wicked. They cover the faces of the judges. You see it in movies who implement themselves as the judges of the scriptures, right? Which we see they make themselves the image of Yahweh Shai, the son of the Most High, damn near the image of the Most High, and the apostles, the prophets, and the evangelists. There's only one nation that mainly do that. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 4, right? They put themselves in the temple, right? When you go to 2 Ezra 2 and 7, the Lord removed our names, right? In the same spirit, that spirit was even put on Esau to bring forth deception by removing our names. Really, when you drop down to verse 6, it says the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites in Moab and the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon and the Amalek and the Philistines and the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have Hopan, the children of Lot, Salah. So you have to understand that Esau is the top guy. Especially he plays a very important role in this story, right? So they don't fear the Israelites because they believe the nation is dead. Through the spirit, yeah, they're correct. You see how I said through the spirit. This is Revelations, the 11th chapter, in verse 8. It says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city." Speaking about Babylon, but they're not physically dead, they're spiritually dead. Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So this great city is going to be spiritually called Sodom because it's going to spiritually be a reflection of Sodom, right? The same-sex LGB 123 bullshit, and it's going to spiritually look like Egypt, the house of bondage. When America, even before it became an empire and then it was an empire, it was a place of bondage for the Black, Latino, Hispanics, and Native Americans. First, they put their hands on the northern kingdom that was already in America and stripped this land from them, okay? It says, "And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies," right? Them having no knowledge from the neck up 3 days and a half. So what person is physically dead for 3? Why would you even? They were dead for 350 years. And then what, they rose again? No. This is a vision. So we have to give the sense. Okay? So, They shall see their dead bodies for 3 days and a half, 350 years. They see them dead without knowledge from the neck up, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in the graves. What do you do in the graves? Rest, right? Let's get this real quick, and then we'll go back to that point so we can finish the lesson. This is Lamentations, the 5th chapter, in verse 5. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. Same thing in Babylon and many other captivities, but America being the most worst one, our necks is under persecution. Work, work, work. We have no rest. That's the grave. Okay, verse 10. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets, being symbolic to Judah, the southern kingdom, Ephraim, the northern kingdom, the two prophets, which when you go to the top of this chapter, the two witnesses, torment them that dwell on the earth. So when we abide in the Lord, if you watch part 1 of this lesson in the book of Judith, right, when we didn't have no heir in our nation and we actually followed the ways of Yahweh Shem Shai, the nations was a reproach. They was under a subjection. But when we sinned, the nations devoured us. Okay? We even see in Deuteronomy, he said, not Deuteronomy, Jeremiah, right? The nations that devoured you, we shall devour them. That's a future prophecy. But us being in captivity is the position the nations are devouring us. Okay? Now, before we even read verse 11, if we get to it, let's continue on. Again, but in the end, the fear of the Israelites will return. This is the part the world doesn't expect. Why? Now let's read Revelations 11, verse 11. And after 3 days and a half, after 350 years, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Not these little Edomites, the ones that's hey, let me get where your rent at, your boss at work. No, it's the elites, right? Those are the new pharaohs. Those that's pushing that sit behind the educational system, the pharmacies, the media, right? The military might, the political, the finance, the religions. Those elites are the ones that's being in fear because they're watching their subjects. Yeah, in Rome, they called you subjects. So they're watching their subjects, mainly the Israelites. Okay? Let me go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. We're going to read verse 1 to 3. It says, Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such has afflicted him. That's because they got the breath of life. We cannot stand without the Rakak Wadash. We're standing up because the Rakak Wadash is in those that believe, the elect. They're standing in boldness before those that have afflicted them boldly. Okay? And the elites see it and made no account of their labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of their salvation, for far beyond all that they look for. And they, repenting and groaning for anguish of the spirit, shall say within themselves, This was he whom we had sometimes in derision, in a proverb of reproach. They really think Jake is dead. Ain't no more Israelites. They're gone. Because we know when you go to Romans 2, you got Romans 2, verse 28 to 29, and Romans 9 and 6, all Israel ain't Israel, because to really be an Israelite is to be one inwardly. If we ain't got the Rakak Wadash, we don't know the ways of the Lord. We don't know the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. We don't know who the nations is, right? We're not a true Israelite inwardly, okay? And the only way we can be an Israelite inwardly is if we have the Rakak Wadash, because then you're going to grow in that holy fear of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Because fear, you're going to be terrified of the power. We're not going to fear man. We're going to fear what Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai can do to us, because he could put you to death without even you budging a budge, because your spirit go unto the Father, right? And at the end of the day, on this side, you're not taught to love your people, right? But when we come back in this truth, we're going to understand that we should be loving our brethren, right? Really those of the faith. Because if we can't love our brethren, how we going to love the one that's invisible, okay? And they don't want you in a state of knowing who your power is and knowing who you is, because they're going to become a reproach. So the nations will be terrified when they see the elect rise, right? And how they going to know? Because the teaching is going to go out. Thus saith the Lord is going out. They're going to be revealing, manifesting who is the son of perdition. Let's go to Micah, the 4th chapter, verse 13. Okay? So Israel is going to become a terror again, a terror to the nations. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thy horn iron, and I will make thy hoofs brass. And thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto Yahweh, and their substance unto Yahweh Shemal Shai of the whole earth. Now, even when you go into this horn, it goes into like laser beams, right? Because the children of Israel, first, you're going to get the breath of life. But the more we get closer to the coming of Yahweh Shai, brothers are going to be doing spiritual miracles by the power of Yahweh Hashem Shai. Because what does Yasharella mean? Prince of the power. We're connected to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. So when you look at the word thy horn, I believe this is the one, Karen.
Strong's H 7161.
Karan, right? Biblical usage: horn of strength, flask, of ray of light, right? Synonymous, because it says figuratively power. So ray of light, figuratively power, synonymous with Superman shooting out laser beams out his eyes, because the children of Israel is the Prince of Power, right? Let me just get this in the New Testament, just real quick. Philippians chapter 3 in verse 20. It says, for our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the Savior, Yahweh Shem Yahushai Hamashiach, who shall change our veiled body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things unto himself. Right? Let's get another point. When we look at Moses, the Lord made Moses a god unto Pharaoh. Look at the plagues that he was doing. Right? This is Exodus 7 and 1. And Yahweh said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be a prophet. Let's look up this word in the Hebrew for the word God. Lowercase God is Elohim. Elohim in the biblical usage, which is plural, it means rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. Okay? Let me look up this. Let me see if it's going to give me more detail on it. Let me do this. Okay, what powers do divine ones have? Since Moses was a god, he did plagues, but it was all by the power of Yahweh Shem Shai working through him. Divine ones, which this is a lower level example, but let's just read it. Divine ones have powers that vary widely depending on the on mythical mythos, but generally includes godlike abilities such as creation, dealing with the elements, destruction, in reality, rapping, along with specific powers like mind control, prophecy, and divine magic. Yo, the prophecy, what is the men of the Lord doing? They're giving the sense of prophecy spoken in the ancient time. That is a power itself. The word is a power. It's a sword. These powers allow them to manipulate existence, enforce cosmetic laws, and influence mortal affairs. Right? So when Moses did, Yahweh allowed him to do. It's other things the men of the Lord have done. And it's going to happen on this side. Just to go back to what we read in Micah, okay? So the fear is going to be restored on the earth. But right now, that spiritual fear is going, because we've seen in Revelation 11:11 and Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, us getting the breath of life and standing boldly, the elites is growing in fear because, dang, they know who they is. You ain't getting no real spiritual powers and doing all of this, and you don't know who you is. You don't know the name of your power, okay? Because the name of Yahweh Shema Shai is dreadful to the heathen. So Yahweh makes Israel a burning fire, which in the end time, this is going to happen really in the kingdom after, after that 1,000 years of Yahweh Shai in the elect's kingdom is established. Obadiah 1:18, right? This is after the destruction, the World War III. Obadiah 1:18, in the house of Jacob shall be a fire, in the house of Joseph a flame, right? Southern Northern Kingdom, even though it's going to be one kingdom, Ezekiel 37. In the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh has spoken it, right? We're going to be a raging fire, right? Basically, we're going to be terror unto the Edomites, the so-called white man and woman that we so-called today. Okay? So the nations will fear the name Yahweh again. Let's go to Psalms 102. And this is happening on this side. Right? Because if you watch part 1, you understand in the ancient time, they feared Yahweh because of his fame, of the things that he have done for the children of Israel. This is Psalms 102 in verse 15. It says, so the heathen shall fear the name of Yahweh, and all the kings of the earth thy glory. In NLT, the nations will tremble before Yahweh. The kings of the earth will tremble before his glory. For Yahweh will rebuild Jerusalem. He will appear in his glory. Right? So right now, he's establishing it spiritually where these elites, they can't get no rest until they make somebody fall. Revelations 12:12. They have a short time. And because brothers is getting a breath of life, they like, oh, damn, they know who they is. So look at time move. Time is moving. This is why you want to take hold of, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and constantly sharpen yourself up, speaking to you men and directly to you women. Because some of you women that don't have a head, hey, Lord willing, you get humble now because the Lord is going to put you under a man of the Lord. But even you women that is married, if you not acting right, the Lord will remove you. You'll be like Lot's wife. In the kingdom, you'll be the bottom wife. Still a wife, and you going to know that your ass wasn't taking this serious. Right? Choose you this day whom you going to serve. Right? Is you going to cleave to the ways of America in this world, or you going to cleave right now to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and do the best that you can? Okay? Jeremiah chapter 51. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 20 to 21. It says, thou art my battle axe. Wait, let me see. Let me start at verse 19. It says, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things. The form of all things. Everything we see on this side, the attributes, good looking, sports, strength, whatever you might look at on this side, Jake is the former. This is why when we look at Jake on this side, the 12 tribes just as a whole, but even Judah, every nation is cleaving to us. Okay? So Jacob is not like them, for he is the form of all things. In Israel is the rod of his inheritance, Yahweh of hosts his name. Real quick, verse 19 NLT. But the Most High of Israel is no idol. He is the creator of everything that exists, including his people, his own special possession. Yahweh of heaven's army is his name. Verse 20, it says, thou art my battle axe and weapon of war. Going back to Micah, where we read about the horn, which was figuratively power, a ray of light, right? It says, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. Samson where you think they got Hercules from? Samson. The Israelite men is going to be like David. That's Zechariah, the 12th chapter, verse 8. They're going to be like David, a man of war, a warrior. They're going to be like God, a many most high, and they're going to be like the angels. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and their rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider, right? The power or the angel, the technology that Esau used on this side. Jake, you're going to have fun, right? We're going to have fun. Dang, it was just in my head. Oh, man. Man. Weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations. Oh, man. Sorry, y'all. Oh, man. I should have just went to it. Dang. Okay, I got it. I had to think about it. This is Zechariah chapter 12 and verse 8. Salaki. It says, in that day shall Yahweh defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble, weak among them at that day shall be as David, right? David was a mighty man of war. And the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of Yahweh before them. What did we read about God before? Elohim is rulers, judges, divine ones, gods. And we already read what are the abilities of divine ones. Even though that was a small example, we talking about divine ones of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Y'all really don't know. Israel is going to become a weapon again, not by flesh, but by the spirit, and really a wholesome, because when we get translated, right, we're going to get that heavenly tabernacle body, change of a twinkling of an eye. So why the nations fear then? Why did they fear back then and not now? Because the nation of Israel have been broken. But now we're about to stand up in the Rakakwadash of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So in the ancient world, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai was with Israel. Miracles were visible. Armies were destroyed. The nations trembled. Today, Israel is broke. They broke the covenant. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai hid his face. Israel was scattered and powerless. Nations mock instead of fear, right? But we ain't powerless now because the Rakakwadash is upon the earth. The 350 years is past. The truth been out here for 56 years. So soon Yahushua is going to return. The elect is wakening up right now. Spiritual powers is going to be restored. The nations are going to tremble again, starting with the elites. Fear will return, not because of us, but because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai will once again stand with his people, and he's doing it through the Rakakwadash, man. That's why when people, the Spirit of the Lord, you really don't understand what the Spirit of the Lord does, right? What is it capable of doing? First, it's going to give you the remembrance of all things. You're going to be looking for the name of the Lord. The Rakak Wadash, especially as a student or a teacher, which, go hand in hand, you're going to be searching the deep things. 1 Corinthians 2:10. The Spirit is going to move you to search for the deep things. You're going to even, some people just think they a believer before, I'm a believer before I'm a student. No, you're a student, a learner before you are a believer. Look at the disciples. Is you really looking? Half the time they couldn't even understand what Yahweh Shai was saying. They had to be a student first to believe. He was doing miracles and they was believing. But then it was sometimes he was speaking and they couldn't get it. Romans 10. How can they believe unless somebody tell them? Right? And faith come by hearing the word. So the disciples was able to see miracles and hearing the word. When Yahweh Shai descended up to the Father, they fully started to grasp and understand what he was saying. But we understand in Acts, the 1st and 2nd chapter, they were filled with the Rakak Wadash, and the Spirit gave them remembrance of things from Genesis to 2nd Maccabees. Then things were just flowing, and this is why we have the whole volume of the book, because the Spirit was moving in them, man. Come on, man. Now we coming back. Mace was right. Welcome back through the Spirit to the elect. Continue to grind, continue to grow, because the elite are afraid. They're afraid. If you can't see it, you might not be in this. You might still, you probably didn't latch on yet. You probably didn't catch the bait, man. Okay? You probably fishing around blind and can't see it. Wake the hell up. Want to give all praises to the one true power that always makes it possible. Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakak Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well through the Spirit. A mighty shalom to the hopeful elect in the same Spirit that is scattered four corners of the earth. Lord willing as a whole that y'all continue in sound doctrine. Shalom to the Akwaf, the sisters of his faith and his truth. Lord willing you continue to pursue your lot, being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. Lord willing Yahweh Shema Shai has mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith. With that, shalom, shalom, abba, abba.